Hi. If you think you heard the worst, I don't think so. Anyway, my presentation will be basically prescriptive rather than going back analytically. Going back analytically and reaching conclusions is your job. My job is to tell you what should be done, okay? But first, the present. In my article, you see the past, but the present. The present situation in Iraq is the least inviting atmosphere, situation, reality that I can think of. Far worse than what you have between Israelis and Palestinians. North Korea, I know too little. And yet, because I was born on a kibbutz and because I had 4 communal dogs and all these calves and all these lambs, I love the lambs, I am optimistic. Guardedly so, okay. Why is the situation so bad? Well, first and foremost, there is no dominant figure in Iraq, neither in the Shi'i camp, politician, neither in the Shi'i camp nor in the Sunni camp. In the Kurdish one, yes, but again, 2 of them, which is one too many. But in any case, in the Shi'i and Sunni area, in the Arab areas, anybody who can really just rightfully claim the loyalty or support of the majority. There is no such thing. You don't have a Ben-Gurion, you don't have a Mandela, you had a Stalin, and that's Saddam Hussein, but he's gone. And I see nobody. And that's a major, major drawback, as we all know. 2, there is no governance to speak of, even in the area controlled by Baghdad, from, say, 150 kilometers north of Baghdad, all the way down to the Gulf, to the Persian Gulf or Arab Gulf or whatever, Basra. It's chaotic. People manage. There is no disaster. But governance is absolutely miserable. There is horrendous corruption. Recently, there were two interviews in the public press, Western press, with the Kurdish Minister of Finance of the Iraqi government, Hoshyar Zaybari, and with a Sunni tribal sheikh, whom I know. And each one of them separately. And each one of them said the corruption in Iraq is beyond belief. And the tribal sheikh said to the interviewer, and I am corrupt too. And I'm trying to do the least possible corruption, but I'm corrupt, he said. And I think it's very sweet, but on the other hand, it's quite a problem. So there is no trickle down, very little trickle down. Then you have internal divisions within the Sunni camp and the Shi'i camp, not to mention between the 2 camps, that are almost unbridgeable, maybe bridgeable, but almost unbridgeable. Great difficulty, if possible at all. There is no international reassurance for anything in Iraq, for anything. Neither the Europeans nor the Americans are ready to guarantee anything to any side. And we mentioned how important that is, and there is none, and probably there will never be. Then, worst of all, there is huge mutual fear, and the fear is fully justified on both sides. I won't go into details, but that's serious. Finally, every day in Baghdad, there is hardly a day when there is no explosion in which a few people die. In a marketplace, in a shopping center, in a cafe, every day. We hear only about the mega explosions. Like a few months ago, one explosion in one evening, 250 people die. In 1 minute. So of that we hear, but nobody pays attention even to that. and that's part of governance, that's part of stability, that's what creates the mutual fears. So, in other words, if any of you receives from the UN an offer to go and be the head of UNAMI. UNAMI is the UN unit which is working in Iraq since 2003. My suggestion to you is either say no, or if you say yes, your condition must be I can leave whenever I want. Yes? Okay. At the same time, I would be ready to go, but I am a bloody Jew, and this doesn't cut. And I am a bloody Zionist, and this doesn't work. So I cannot go. Nobody will talk to me, and rightfully so from their point of view. So we have here also a shortage of people who know Iraq and who are ready to go and dedicate, say, 2 or 3 years of their lives to try to do something which looks impossible. Still, what I can do is what I did for the last 35, 40 years. I can advise. Advice costs nothing, and you don't have to listen to it. I mean, you can listen, but you don't have to do it. So nobody is very allergic to advice. My advice now would be on 3 levels. The minimum, but the bare necessity, the very highly necessary diplomatic effort to create some kind of a confidence-building mechanism, and then the ambitious, resolving the conflict. Very briefly, when it comes to the absolute necessary in order to prevent a worse crisis than we have now, with ISIS in control of Mosul and still about 25% of the Iraqi territory, I would say, first of all, you have to realize the magnitude of the problem. Right now, between the UN and some voluntary organizations, the assessment is that there are internal refugees in Iraq, anywhere between 3.4 and 4.4 million people. This is between 10% and 15%, more or less, of the population. But it's very unbalanced in a way. Almost all of them, I'd say 80% of them, 75% of them, are Sunni Arabs. The rest are some Shia, yes, but not too many, Yazidis and other minorities, Christians and other minorities. But certainly 75% are Sunnis. And if you don't solve their problem, and they're really refugees, they're living in tents, if you don't solve their problem, you will have solved nothing. Furthermore, when Mosul is being liberated from ISIS, which it will be, my prediction between towards the end of 2016 and the middle of 2017, it will happen. Maybe even a bit sooner than later. But when it happens, you'll have at least 1 million extra refugees. Because if we consider the examples of the city of Tikrit, the city of Beiji, the governorate in the east of Iraq between Baghdad and the Iranian border, and a couple of Ramadi, Fallujah in Anbar. If you take that experience or experiment, if you wish, all those cities were destroyed. The cities don't exist. And I don't see why in Mosul it's going to be different. Hopefully it will be, but there is no way to guarantee that. So chances are Mosul will be destroyed as well. And 1 million extra refugees. Then you'll have about between 4.5 and 5.5 million refugees waiting for a solution. And again, in Mosul, 99% are Sunnis. So here is the first assignment, which to my mind is absolutely unavoidable. Reconstruction, resettlement, and within 1 year, it has to move from military tracking into, from the military track into the civilian, civil society, civil governance. Who can do it? Well, I'm not sure the money can be found, even though I really think this is crucial. But if the money is found, the Iraqi government has one more issue I didn't even mention, the fact that the oil prices mean that Iraq doesn't have sufficient resources even to run life as usual, everyday life. But that means that you need the resources and you need one man, just one man. And there is only one man in Iraq who is not corrupt. One man. And I know him well. He is Iraqi, of course. He's Sunni. He is a general. He was a general, a two-star general under Saddam Hussein. He was a commander of Saddam Hussein's ground-to-air defenses during the war against the Americans, 2003. He was very good, very professional. And today he is Sunni Saddam general. Remember, he was made by Prime Minister Abadi, whom I regard as a very good man who has absolutely no clout, but for that he had enough clout. Because the Obama administration really helped him a great deal, which shows the Obama administration get things done if they really realize it's important. And this man was made the commander of the Mosul operational arena. And he is the one who's going to liberate Mosul. And he will liberate Mosul. And he'll do it very well, carefully, slowly. The key word here is slowly. In Arabic, Hani, al-ajal min al-shaytan. Anyone who rushes things ahead, that comes from Satan. Don't rush anything. This is very Arabic. It's also very Israeli, by the way. But basically, don't rush it. And he's doing exactly that. He's not rushing it, but he's doing the right thing. Once he liberates Mosul, he must be made I think in America you call it either top honcho, right? Top honcho, or czar, the czar of reconstruction, resettlement, and turning things from military to civil. This guy can do it. And I think that if they don't give it to him, there is nobody else. Because money cannot be given to this new organization, new man, new administration in the north of Iraq, in Mosul, through the government of Baghdad. If it will be given through Baghdad, everything will stay in the pockets of Baghdad officials. Nothing. There will be no trickle down at all, 10% perhaps, which means it will fail. But if done properly, it can recreate Sunni good faith, Sunni faith in Baghdad's good intents. That's all, which is hugely important. If it fails, it will be a disaster. We shall have ISIS too. So that's number one. If it's done properly, this will have achieved a very important goal. Second is a diplomatic campaign conducted and helped by the United Nations, by UNAMI. They'll have to send somebody very good to head UNAMI in Baghdad, somebody really effective, and they will just have to do one thing, to revive an idea and a program, a plan that UNAMI had in 2014, 2015, and then it was discarded for reasons I won't go into, to enact 3 laws.
She was waiting to you.
Oh.
1 minute.
There is no concessions for students or to professors. I mean, a little more for that. Okay, never mind. Some. Anyway, there are 3 laws. I won't go. 3 laws that basically are changing the whole concept of de-Baasification. okay? Namely, to allow Ba'athis, who are almost all of them Sunnis, those who are now being barred, being prevented from joining the state, really, to join state service, military service, security service. That's one law which has to be introduced, and actually the Prime Minister wanted it, but couldn't pass it through Parliament. Another one is National Guard. National Guard means that each province will have its own military power. It can be done very easily, and it should be embarked upon. This will give people security against Shi'i militias that sometimes are quite unruly, and Iranian revolutionary guards who are sometimes wandering them there, and the Sunnis are scared stiff of them. So that's another thing. These are basically, there is another law, but all these are one whole. It can be done. This is doable. And you know who is going to support it, and that's the only silver line I can so far find, except for this general who is commanding operations in Mosul. The name of the guy whom I believe to be definitely a big silver lining is Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani. Maybe some of you heard of him. He is a marja taqlid. He is the source of emulation of 90% at least of the Iraqi Shia. And he was for this initiative. The 3 laws that will create, will sort of confidence-building laws, if you wish. So these are doable. What I don't know whether or not is doable is something else. And that's the ambitious idea, which to my mind is the best for Iraq's future, decentralization of the Iraqi state, not disintegration. Each province, each group of provinces, if they prefer to create what they call a region, each of them can have autonomous authorities. I won't go into the details what it means, but this is doable. And yet, again, doable, but extremely difficult, because even Sistani is not supportive of it. The Sunnis by vast majority want it. The Shias by vast majority don't want it. UNAMI wanted it, but couldn't push it through. So this is a big enigma, the big question. So what will happen? And can it be done? And last but not least, what will Iran think? Because the Iranians, do you remember Churchill said about Russia, right? That Russia is an enigma wrapped in question mark. And you remember Winston Churchill said about Russia. So what does Russia want? So the question is, what does Iran want? But certainly Iran is very important here too. America, to my mind, is of the greatest importance because its influence both on the Iraqi government and on the Sunnis can be, if they only want to, tremendous. And the question is how much energy and resources, Europeans too, of course, will be dedicated to Iraq. I'm very pessimistic on that one. Thank you.